Hi there, this is Chris from MoneyHub, and this video looks at comparing the travel insurance policies from 1Cover, Southern Cross, and AA Travel Insurance. So these are three popular travel insurers within New Zealand. Many New Zealanders every month get these policies, but we wanted to go through them side by side and just make a comparison around the benefits that each of the insurers offer. So we've published this comprehensive guide, which I'm just showing you now, and that is linked down below in the video description. And so you can go and see that there, and we link out to the insurers, and we have some helpful sort of frequently asked questions as well. But the purpose is, for me just now here, is just to go through what we've come up with and what we've found so that you can make an informed choice for whatever travel insurance policy you're looking for. Now, before I go any further, it's really important to know that the prices will vary based on how long you traveled for, where you're traveling to, how many people you travel with, etc., etc. So while it's, it seems quite straightforward, travel insurance does require you to make some quotes and comparisons. It's very easy to get quotes. You can see from the travel insurers here, it's straight in. You just type it in straight in, for the dates, put in the ages, there you are. And the same with, the likes of Southern Cross. But, you want to make sure that you understand exactly what you're buying, because too often people do buy policies and they're not sure what they're covered for, and then if they make a claim, sometimes they're not, which is not great because you paid all that money. It's just not useful. So I'm just going to go through and make some notable points, and then you can then do what you want and make your own comparisons. But it's probably helpful for me just to do this, so that's why we put together this video. Now, travel insurance is certainly something that we're emailed about quite a lot. People want to know. And so we continue to expand our travel insurance footprint or guides. But if you do have any questions, please let us know. Leave the comment down below. We are highly responsive to those. We'll always reply. And also we want to improve our guides and make sure everything is as useful as it can be. And just as a background, these three insurers, what you'll notice is that they all have underwriters. 1Cover is underwritten by Lloyd's, and Lloyd's provides policies for the likes of TINS or Travel Insurance New Zealand, and Zoom, which is another travel insurer, while the likes of AA Travel Insurance is underwritten by Allianz, and they provide for AMP, Tower, and WorldCare. So pretty much when you compare, you should see similar pricing because they are, the same policies. For Southern Cross, they provide their own underwriting. And they've put that in their About Us section. So rather than them go and say, okay, we're going to go out to market and get someone to underwrite, so any claim that is made is going to be processed through Southern Cross. Now, sometimes that can mean lots of claims, lots of delays, because there has been previous media sort of articles about that. But it's really important just to understand the difference in the fact that if you do buy a policy through 1Cover, claims will be made through Lloyd's, and if you do it through AA Travel, you'll go to Allianz, and then if you go to Southern Cross, you'll do it through Southern Cross. You can also see it here that they'll have questions around anything to do with claiming is going to be pretty clear that it's and you can see all the stuff about Allianz here, and then let me just find that. Yeah, so you can see it in the make a claim section. It goes straight over to Allianz, and that's because they want people to go with the people who are going to assess the claim, and that is Allianz there. So, and they've said it's their partner. So, without further ado, I'll just go back to the guide, and what we've done is we've looked at comprehensive policies, which means we're not looking at budget versions or medical only. We just want to compare comprehensive, sort of apples for apples. And so that they, are the policies which give people the most number of benefits. And that's going to be everything from lost luggage down to medical, public liability, all sorts of things like that. And for every policy, you'll find that there is a maximum cover limit. And so with the exception of medical, often that's unlimited. But, for every benefit list, and I'll just show you one from AA, isn't it? So you can see this is one example. And if you go down to it, you can see the big cover. These travel insurance policies are certainly quite large. And you can see comprehensive there. It's grouped into 5 sections. You've got cancellation of travel. You've got medical benefits. And you've got life benefits. And you've got personal baggage and personal liability. So with all that being said, let's just go straight into comparing apples with apples, as I said, and we've looked at the comprehensive policies for each insurer. Now, this is all subject to change, so if you are watching this, please do check the cover limit for your policy. While we do keep everything up to date, things can change without notice, and so it's sometimes we need to catch up there. It's very rare, but just be aware of that. So do read the policy and the benefits before you make any purchase. Please know as well that it's really important that, people's individual travel is going to vary in terms of their needs and what they want to insure for. For example, some people may have a hearing aid, which needs to be insured for $10,000. Other people won't have that. Some people will have an expensive phone that's over the, limit of $1,500 or whatever their policy might be, and they need to insure for that. Same for a laptop, whereas others will just have cheaper stuff and aren't too concerned. So whatever you need, please compare it like for like. So make sure you put in, if you need extra cover for personal items, make sure you do that for all your quotes so you're actually comparing properly there. Right. So without further ado, let's get straight into the comparisons. And what we've done is we've split them out into medical travel disruptions and baggage and other essential benefits for like one section. And then we've got the less likely claimed, or the sort of less commonly claimed, which is the life and the income and the personal liability benefits. So these first type of benefits, they're all your standard type of, cover that you pretty much buy travel insurance for. So it's going to be for anything that disrupts your trip, medical costs, luggage, things like that. So let's just go through those at a high level. So medical costs here, you can see that the cover from all of these is unlimited. And we've just set a section there that's really, really important, because sometimes cover from some insurers is going to be capped. And then you can get a situation in the USA where it's just not enough cover. So the difference is having to be fundraised, or it's just a whole bunch of problems. So, or actually both. So we're very pro travel insurance, which is unlimited. And we do like to see that rather than some cap. It just gives peace of mind. And we always think that's something that people should be striving for to buy when they look for a travel insurance policy. Now, changing or canceling your journey before you leave. So this is interesting. Two insurers have unlimited cover here, but Southern Cross actually caps it at $2,500. So do check that if you are going to buy a Southern Cross policy, and because that means if you have pre-bought your hotel, that's not able to be cancelled. Some of them aren't. Flights, very rare. That you can get all your money back. I know certainly myself buying cheap New Zealand flights, very hard to get money back if if you do need to cancel. So just be aware that that limit may not be enough. So you will need to do an optional add-on. And then emergency dental treatment. That's something that MoneyHub readers have actually written in to say, well, what about, emergency dental? Who covers what? And what can I get? Should I need it? And this isn't for like routine, like fillings or anything like that, or crowns. It's more like, totally emergency stuff, pain relief. And so that is going to vary per insurer. So it's worth just consulting there. We've done a little summary table. But yeah, the limits are quite low compared to a medical, which is unlimited. And that's primarily because it's not really a dental policy. It is focusing on, severe medical trauma, which you need to be fully covered for. Cash allowances while in hospital. So that's if you get stuck in hospital and you need some money for incidentals, for whatever that could be, then the insurers do cover costs, per their way. Some of them, Southern Cross, is up to $100 for each 24 hours, whereas 1Cover will give you up to a certain amount. Someday you may have more expenses than others for whatever reason. This isn't your hospital cost. This is just incidentals. And that's what the covers are. Now, changes to your journey once you've left, and this could be, any reason. This could be having to return home. This could be having to rebook flights if there's been some issue. Then, you can see that the policies do vary. It's $10,000 up to $50,000 depending on the insurer. So be aware that if you do have expensive, long trip planned, that you may not have sufficient cover with one policy. So just be aware there. And then baggage and personal items, I can speak from experience here, that, baggage can be offloaded and just obviously not put onto the plane. You can just get lost or anything like that. So while the airline is often going to step in there if it's their fault, usually that will be, with some offers of, paying for clothing up to a certain amount, with a whole bunch of receipts being sent to them. It is a hassle. And so people do like to have baggage and personal item protection with their travel insurance. And so that's, the limits do vary. So be aware that that is a benefit which is popular and something which should be as much as possible within reason. Cash, bank cards, travel documents, and passports being stolen or lost. So that can happen, of course, and there's varying benefits there. You can see Southern Cross is offering $1,000, whereas 1Cover is offering something for a credit card fraud and a theft of cash. They each have their own terms and conditions there, and what they're offering. So do have a look if that's something which you're interested in. And then finally, the rental vehicle excess. This is something that's very interesting. So we've got a comprehensive guide to that, which I do suggest having a read of. And what it does is it talks about the different fees which car rentals charge. And so what it comes down to, and this is based on a New Zealand study, but you'll be charged these excesses should you have an accident. It may not be your fault. You could just accidentally damage something. Someone could damage your car. But as soon as that happens, your credit card is usually charged the full amount of whatever the excess is. This assumes that you haven't bought that per day waiver. And then as a result, you then have to pay that, and then they do the work, and then they refund what they didn't spend. So what this does is it pays for that. So should you be liable for $5,000 with, say, 1Cover, or $10,000 with Southern Cross, or whatever the excess is, it will go to the maximum, and it should be enough in most circumstances. These are all New Zealand dollar benefits, but it's usually fine if you are overseas. New Zealand does have quite a high amount for these excesses. It can be lower overseas depending on where you are. So that's something to be aware of. That certainly is useful should something problematic happen with your car rental. And then pet services. This is really where you've had a disruption and you need to get more kennels or more catteries or something to do with your pets. Some insurers cover it, some insurers don't. And you can see here that the benefits do vary. So that is something to be aware of. Now, next up is the secondary list of benefits. These are unfortunately not the ones you want to be claiming on. They often sort of mean a lawsuit or death or permanent disability. So I'll go through these briefly. These are not nearly as common as claims as the other ones in the first section above. Life benefit. So this is for accidental death, things like that. Southern Cross and 1Cover and AA all have their own limits. So just be aware of that. Loss of income. So that's something to be aware of. Should you have an accident overseas, then the amount that you'll be paid for loss of income is actually quite limited. But you can sometimes, if these situations do qualify, go on ACC within New Zealand, but it really depends on what happened. And it's not going to be an illness. If you did contract some illness overseas, that's not going to be covered. But there are circumstances where if you have had an injury, then that will be covered. But for all intents and purposes, loss of income is something which some insurers cover, some don't. And of course, it's going to vary based on the policy and the insurer. Then personal liability. This is where you get a situation of someone suing you. You've been found legally liable for something. This isn't a deliberate damage. This is just something that accidentally happened. Countries like America with a big legal or sort of lawsuit culture, they can, you can get yourself into bother there quite quickly. People threatening to sue, people do sue. So in this case, the personal liability is going to cover you for any damages that are awarded against you, plus your legal costs. So be aware that that is a benefit that's not so common, but it certainly steps in to protect you from your overseas travel. So what have we said about the best policies and our conclusion? More or less, it's still going to come down to comparing. I can't really stress that enough. And the reason is because everyone's trip is different. So do make those comparisons because it doesn't take long and it's really useful just to get an overall view. We've said here that 1Cover is strong, it stands out, but so does Southern Cross, and so does AA Insurance. They're all strong offerings and certainly something to consider. You may get a benefit as well if you're an existing AA member, for example. If you've used 1Cover before, there could be a discount code for you, Southern Cross as well, for its members. So be aware that pricing will vary based on, who you otherwise insure with and if you've insured with them previously as well. So no one is going to be fully satisfied by, one policy, but it's going to do it. It's going to do the best it can. So do just make the comparisons to get an understanding of what's going to be the price that you look at paying. And then, as we've said, for buying a policy, make sure you know your travel needs, and then compare, and then have a read of the policy wording. We've got lots of videos of this, so don't hesitate to watch those just to see how we interpret these videos. How we interpret the policies. Also, look at the insurer's reputation. This isn't so much looking at 1Cover, AA, and Southern Cross. This is just in general, because some people offer travel insurance, but actually getting claims paid and even someone answering emails can be problematic. And then just take the time to decide. So whatever you do, don't rush into it. Whilst you'll be covered for cancellation cover from the moment that you do press pay on the policy online, there's no point getting a policy in a rush that's not suitable for you. You can cancel the policies within 14 days for that's called the cooling off period. We've got a frequently asked question on that below, and that's worth knowing. Should you decide to say, okay, actually, I think I'll go with someone else, then you've got that 14 days. So just as a list of frequently asked questions, which will be the last thing which I talk about here. How do I get quotes? Then you just go online. Are there age restrictions? Yes, there usually are. It's usually going to cover from people as the main travelers from age 18. But of course, if you have children or teenagers or whatever, babies, then, obviously you add them in, and that's absolutely fine. And then how are pre-existing medical conditions covered? It does range by the insurer. So our comment there is really just talk to your insurer or talk to the insurer that you're thinking of, or all of them, and just get quotes for whatever your medical condition is. There's no definitive guide to that because it really depends on how risk-based what the risk is to the insurer, and that'll drive the price that you get back as a quote. Can I extend my policy if I decide to travel longer? You may want to travel longer and then not be sure about how that works with your travel insurance. Most policies will be yes, but you just need to talk to them. And what happens if I cancel? As I previously said, you've got 14 days from when you purchased the policy to be able to cancel it. That's not 14 days from when you leave, but from the date of purchase. And then what's the process of making a claim? Well, that all depends on who you insure with. If you look at the likes of 1Cover, they've got their own a system there, of course, and then which you'll just use your policy number and your other details. And then Southern Cross has their own claim process as well. And with AA, you have to hunt around for it, but it's also has a similar process. So that's that there. And then we've covered the likes of adventurous activities. Are they covered? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It does depend. You will need to read the policy under that. And then questions around valuables. So the insurers all have a per item limit. So do check what that is, because that can vary, especially on what it is. So make sure that if you are taking these high ticket items, that you're properly covered. And if need be, you'll need to buy additional insurance. It's just like an add-on, and that's part of any policy. And then you'll be covered for that. And then what about natural disasters? Yes, there should be cover for that. But again, do check. And if you are needing to return to New Zealand earlier than planned, if it's a covered reason, so look at the covered reasons, then yes, that will be fine. The travel insurer will take care of the cost there. And what happens if you have a complaint about your policy or your claim? Then there's the ombudsman, and we've linked out to that, for making a complaint. So that is pretty much our guide. If you do have any questions, as I said, leave them down below, because we want our guides to be as comprehensive as possible. And we certainly want to create more information around travel insurance, because we know it's easy to buy, but it is hard to understand. So we want to make a difference there. Thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to hearing from any of your questions.